Hey guys, I keep getting questions about what it's like to be a work from home mom, so today I'm gonna break down the pros and the cons. All right, so a few things to take into account for my experience as a work from home mom. One, I have a nanny, and I've had a nanny since day one of this. Two, I run my own business. And three, I now have 2 kids, but I have experienced it with 1 kid and now with 2 kids. And before I get into the actual pros and cons, like my pros and cons lists, I feel like it's really important to let you guys know, especially if you're a potential like new mom, first time mom, and you're thinking about being a work from home mom, whether it's because you want to start your own business, you run your own business, or you have a job that's flexible like that. The first year with my first child was definitely the easiest and much more doable. Even like the first 6 months, I actually only had a nanny for 3 days a week. And especially like that first 2-3 months, I didn't even think I needed the nanny. It's just that I had already hired her. So I didn't want to let her go at that point. I just kind of had her around, and it just felt like it was too much because your baby naps a lot in those first few months. I was able to do a lot of my computer work while the baby was sleeping. So I didn't really feel like I needed the nanny. I felt like it was actually overkill in those first few months. So that's something to keep in mind. As my baby became a toddler and needed more attention and wanted to play and understood that mommy was actually sitting here and I was around and stuff, that's when things start to get a lot harder. So let's get into the pros, because that's obviously why anybody would choose to be a work from home mom. The biggest pro is that you get to be home with your kids. And when I say you get to be home with your kids, I think a lot of people think that they can watch their kid and also work at the same exact time. And like I said, that first year with my first child, when I only had one, that was pretty doable. You know, if you guys have been following me for a while, I went through 3 nannies before I found the one that I really love. And so there were definitely moments where I didn't have a nanny in that first year, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't completely necessary. I knew that when I wanted to start going out for meetings more and, to be on all day video shoots and all that kind of stuff, whether that was for my own video shoots or for client video shoots, I knew I needed somebody to watch my baby the full day, but that was so few and far between compared to just the day-to-day work stuff. So obviously this pro outweighs all of the cons, and it is the pro of the pros, because I get to see my kids pretty much every single day throughout the day. All right, so the next pro is that because I am still technically at home, I get to enforce, or it's really dictate what these schedules are gonna be for my babies. And so that means the daytime sleep schedule, the eating schedule, all of that kind of stuff, what classes they're gonna go to and everything. I'm still pretty much there to dictate all of that and even enforce it if I feel very strongly about something. That comes into play more so when your child becomes a little bit older, because then you start to get into these really stringent, nap schedules, and you sleep train maybe, and you want to make sure that the way you actually put your child to sleep is done the right way and stuff. So those things I'm here for too, to help enforce and to also just help figure out, which also leads to another pro, and that's I'm around if something were to happen. It's God forbid something happens, but I know that I'm here for the most part. And I think that that's another pro that outweighs a lot of them is that you're around. You know what I mean? If something were to happen, even if it's something small and your baby is crying because they hurt themselves or something, you can actually take a second and be you can actually hug and comfort your own child and stuff, and it's not somebody else, and that's always a nice feeling that you're there for those kinds of things. Another pro is that I pretty much have a flexible schedule. There's some things that are just set in stone and I can't break from them work-wise, especially if it has to do with some kind of a client, or if we scheduled something and there are multiple people involved in that schedule or something. But for the most part, my schedule is flexible. So if my child has something at school that I need to be at, if my baby has a pediatrician appointment, and you guys know in the beginning especially, you have so many pediatrician appointments to hit. So it's good that I'm flexible in that way. I've always actually wondered, and I feel for so many parents who don't have those flexible jobs where they can, take that time suddenly if they need to, suddenly have to leave work because they have to go pick up their kid or something. I have that flexibility for the most part. Another pro for me specifically is that I have people working here at our home, and that has created, an environment where my kids get used to being around a lot of people. And I think that's actually really good for them to socialize. My kids are also growing up with some really fun aunties and uncles, we're constantly Auntie Anna, Auntie Carly, and they get so close to them that I've actually even got built-in babysitters because my kids are so used to them. They love them, and I know that they know how things go with my kids. kids and know how to comfort them, and they have a good time together and stuff. So I actually feel comfortable with my children being around the people that I work with. For moms that breastfeed, breastfeeding is definitely 100% so much easier if you are working from home. You can technically like take those breaks and go and breastfeed your child, or you can pump, which is so much easier when you're at home. I've scheduled calls where I've been breastfeeding my child and people don't even realize it, or I've been maybe even pumping or something, or I just like pumped really quickly before a call and it wasn't a big deal. You know, I can even just like leave my pump right there, like kind of like dirty and used and stuff like that, and go grab a call really quick and come back and then wash it. So life is so much easier when you're breastfeeding and you're a work from home mom. It does also make it hard because you're, you know, like taking that time away from your work, which is something that I will talk about as a whole in the cons list. Another one that's very specific for me is because my children are around, I get to also include them in my videos. And you guys have started to get to know my children, especially Nikosh, because he's been with me, you know, from like the start of especially this channel, my personal channel. So he was kind of like the inspiration for this personal channel, truly is like my experience with him as a first-time mom and my pregnancy and everything. And then another pro is I'm not really tied down to one specific area. You know, in a big city like Los Angeles it's a big deal actually, because my husband might have to move for a job or something, or my child, we might want to put him into a different school and it's far from where we live currently. I can technically, not that I always want to, but I can technically pick up and move to a different area of Los Angeles and it wouldn't disrupt my life too much to pick up and move. Another pro is that I don't commute. I have zero commute. I don't get into a car, especially in a place like Los Angeles where people can spend an hour, 2 hours in the car. I don't do that. So that is time that I either get to put towards work or time that I get to spend with my children, which also is a big pro. It's just a pro in general for anybody that works from home, is that you don't have your commute. So I think those are pretty much the pros. I'm sure if I sat down and really thought about it more, I could come up with more as time goes on, and maybe even after we stop filming this video, I'll be like, oh God, I thought of another pro. But really, truly, like the main pro is that I'm with my children and I get to be there during the day for them for the most part. So that is like the biggest pro. All right, so I'm gonna get into the cons, and I want you to keep in mind that I still choose this lifestyle. It's just more to be realistic about what goes down when you're a work from home mom. None of these cons have convinced me to choose a different lifestyle, I suppose. So keep that in mind as well. So con number one is that there is almost no separation between like your work and life. You know, it's like that balance is non-existent. You know, it's like my work schedule kind of is, there's a time early in the morning when I wake up, and that's probably like when I get ready or do some stuff. I might like look at my phone, try to answer a couple of emails, do whatever I need to do. For me, it's like also social media stuff. And then I'll wake up with my kids, help them get ready and all that stuff. Then my nanny gets here and we do like our whole, you know, morning dance, you know, where we're like trying to get the kids ready and do all that, whatever it is that we're doing. Then I like go into my work office and I start working, but you know, I might like hear my baby crying, or somebody might need some help, something might go down. So then there's like sometimes like this mix of it. There are times when my toddler is home and he sees that we're working in there. He's like, well, mom is here, why can't we play? And he does this not just to me, but to the girls on my team too. He's all about Carly right now. And he's like, Carly, we have to play. And I have to explain to him that they're my friends too, you know, because that's the best way I can explain it to him. So there are things like that happen. And then, you know, I'll spend the evenings obviously with my children and focusing my attention on them. And then they go to sleep and then I have to do more work. So it's like this weird schedule, you know, where my work and my life, and even weekends, you know, there might be some work things that I have to do. And I'm like, my husband's getting annoyed because I'm trying to like still get some of my work done and everything when I'm getting these pockets of time to do it. So that work-life balance really goes out the door, which kind of seeps into like the next con, and that's that there's no break. There really is no break. When you're a parent, there's no break. And so you're not getting that moment where you leave the home and you go and focus, you know, on your own work. Like you go to a 9-to-5 job, you're there at the office and you focus. And like, unless you're getting a call or something like that from your babysitter or your daycare or something like that, saying that something, you know, like your kid is sick or something like that, you really are just, you know, like then you're at work and you're focusing. Whereas when I'm home, I'm still on as mom. I'm still mom when I am home. And that, you know, that can be a little bit hard. You know, you don't get that break. You know, like in the beginning of this video, I mentioned that I run my own business, and that's where this really comes into play is that, because it's my own business, I truly don't shut off. So the producer in me, or the person that's like on camera talking to you guys and stuff, that person stays on all day long, as well as like the mom in me. I stay on all the time. So there's this, again, there's no balance. It's really just juggling and figuring out when to fit in these little things, and not let anything slip through the cracks. I touched on flexible schedule in the pros, but I want to touch on schedule again for cons. So for us, there's things like this, like scheduling for a video shoot, and we're literally in my living room. So that means that we have to schedule around like naps and when, like activities that my kids are doing and stuff, and when we're gonna have that moment where it's gonna be quiet enough. And you guys have seen in my videos sometimes, like suddenly Isla's like in my lap because she woke up and there's nobody else to watch her. We're constantly trying to schedule. And then that leads into like the next con, and this is just being a parent, but it affects you strongly when you're working from home. And that's when I do try to schedule things, my kids always throw me for some kind of a loop, right? So like, I think I might have their schedule down. They're like doing their naps perfectly and things are going well, but they don't always stick to their schedules. Like they are human beings. As well as being babies, And so it's like you can't program them. They're not robots. So sometimes they throw you for a loop, and I find that it happens actually often. Another con is that it takes longer to get one thing done. And when I say one thing done, I mean for work, something that might have taken you like to write something up really quick, might have taken you, or to answer an email might take you usually like only 5 to 10 minutes. It might take me an hour because it almost feels like I have like ADD. I'm being pulled in all these different directions. It's like I'm trying to finish this up, and then I go because I hear like something's happening with one of my kids, or I feel like, like right now even, these videos take longer to film now because I can hear one of my kids, like crying out for mom or something. So those kinds of things happen too. It's like what would normally be maybe a shorter task can take much, much longer. Another con is that even though I have help, I have a nanny who works a set amount of hours, and sometimes my husband is here too. And even at that, because I'm here, the babies will get handed to me sometimes, and that's totally fine. I am here, but I am here. Does that make sense? Like, it's one of those things, it's like, again, when you get into your car and you leave the house, no one's asking you to chip in because you're not there. They just actually can't ask you. Whereas when you're here, it makes sense that you have to chip in a little bit because everything, like people can only do so much at one time. So that's something that also happens when you are a work from home mom. Another con is that we're just all here, right? Like I am here always, I don't leave. My employees are here, and my husband, he doesn't actually get a break from us. Like he might come home early from work, or he might call in sick because he's truly feeling sick, or he might get a day off that we didn't have as a day off, and he has to deal with us. Like home is not necessarily just his home. It is our work home. And that means that we have people that have keys to our home. They get to walk in, and I'll give them a heads up. Sometimes we're here early because we have an early shoot day or something. Sometimes we're here late. So my husband doesn't really get a break from all the work life that happens here too. So those are my pros and cons of being a work from home mom. I'm sure, like I said, I can think of more on each side of it, but for the most part, that's how I would sum it up. Like I said, I choose this. I love being a work from home mom. I really do feel like this is the best of both worlds. It's one of the reasons why I decided to quit my job, my job with somebody else, and start my own business, was because I wanted to have this ability to work from home with my kids. But, I'd love to hear your experiences too, because I'm sure you guys all have your own thoughts about this too. And I'm sure there are moms that have other questions as well. So you can ask me in the comments below. You can join us in our private Facebook group. It's called Fam for All Moms. You can find me on Instagram. I'm at Susan Yara, and I'll talk to you guys soon.